shining. What we've got, what we've got is we've got a couple of things. We've got the podcast going on, hopefully, and we have got video as well. I know, it's brilliant. So if there is anybody out there watching, hello. I didn't realize that I'm dressed like an army recruit at the moment, and I've got a camo headset on. So welcome. It's the bank holiday weekend. Hopefully everything's going all right out there. Hopefully we've got all sorts of things, all sorts of useful things for you as we go on. So what we're looking at today is we're looking at dictation technology. Now, I've been working in kind of the edtech sphere, as it were. Sphere, yes, it's a sphere. It's not a box or not just a small circle. It's a sphere. Yeah, I've been working for about 20 years, and when I started, dictation technology was in its infancy, especially in regards to education. I used to be a TA, used to be a support worker for students, and I remember trying to get a student to use dictation technology, and it was an arduous, laborious, no guarantee of working whatsoever system. I remember you had to sit in front of a computer for hours upon hours upon hours. You either had to read a story like it was a petulant child at bedtime, or you had to talk about foxes jumping over fences endlessly for the computer to start learning your voice. But now, currently, what we are thinking of is we are thinking of dictation as being a very, very, viable way of entering text. It is not something that is massively used. The reason that I know a little bit about it and the reason that I'm talking about it today is because I work with disabled students, some of who don't or can't use a keyboard to input text. And what we've got is we have got a way to put text into a computer that is a little different to previous ways. If you think about writing and you think about the physical act of writing, does that mean that we have to actually use our hands? I mean, this is the thing. We sometimes think about writing as a physical act, and we sometimes think about typing, or we think about using a pen, and that's absolutely fine. But there are other ways to get text to go where you want it to go. So the reason that I'm looking at dictation software today is I want to try and give a shout out to some of the dictation software that I use myself, the students who I work with use, and I also want to kind of maybe perhaps think about how is this technology, this type of technology, going to affect schools in the future, for want of sounding like one of those edtech kind of technology will change the world. Technology, change the world. You won't need teachers, you need technology. Blah, 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 you know the kind of people I'm talking about. Yeah, you do. For want of sounding like that, when it comes to dictation technology, I think it's probably going to be one of those paradigm shifting technologies when it comes to schools, universities, HE, because it offers a completely different way of writing, as it were. And I think that is quite important. The English teacher in me, the previous English teacher in me, is a little bit nervous about this change. But I see this type of technology working on a pretty regular basis in my own job and also in my own life. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about dictation technology. If you would like to join the conversation, please, you are more than welcome to. You can send a message here up on the Podbean Live. Excuse me, sorry. I'm sat on the floor again in the office, so my back's absolutely killing me. You can join the conversation on Podbean Live. You can send me a tweet if you would. You can at Teach Talk Radio, so that's at TT Radio 2022, or you can send me a tweet at T Starkey 1212. But yeah, we're going to talk about dictation. We're talking about talking, basically. It's like an Inception, but just with me yammering on. So yeah, a little bit of background as to why I chose this topic. Dictation technology is one of the biggest recommendations that I make to students in HE. I work primarily with disabled students, but dictation technology is one of the big ones that I recommend to just about any student who I come across. First of all, because of the increase in viability of using it as a way to input text. Yes, there are some difficulties sometimes in regards to accuracy. No speech to text program, hardware, app, whatever, nothing is 100% accurate. So there will be certain possibly hilarious misspellings or words that don't really belong in certain sentences. But as a way to get your thoughts down quickly, as a way for students to get their thoughts down quickly without having to worry about the physical act of typing, it's been one of the biggest recommendations that I've made. What I'm going to do is, in a minute, I'm going to have a look at Tom's tech tips when it comes to dictation. I'm going to concentrate on free technology today. Well, I say free, nothing's ever free. But I'm going to concentrate on free, widely available technology that is available now. So I'm going to concentrate on that for my recommendations. And then in the second half of the show, hopefully, I'm going to talk about a little bit about what using dictation software in school might look like and how it might affect things when it comes to things like creative writing, grammar and spelling, allowing students who have mobility issues or allowing students who have dyslexia an alternative way to get their thoughts down onto the screen and then perhaps onto paper. So as I say, if you would like to join the conversation, thank you very much. I'm already having a look at the screen, and we've got a couple of people over there. We've got Shaz Drama, a wonderful voice on Twitter. She says, I have a student who is almost completely blind. He gets 100% extra time using big font. Yeah, this is the thing. Sometimes when it comes to recommendations for students with disability, they're not appropriate. They're really not appropriate. So when we think about the things that really help students and sometimes move away from our current ways of thinking, I talked about it a little bit about it in a previous show about why don't people teach touch typing, because touch typing is a primary way of getting things out there rather than handwriting, or in partnership with handwriting, because we wouldn't want to get rid of OWL. So I just wanted to have a look about one of those things that I see on a daily basis, but perhaps isn't as well known outside the sphere where I work, which is kind of the straddling point, the sharp, pointy fence between technology, education, and disability. So I'm getting some messages from my wonderful producer, Tom, the famous Rogers History one. He's saying, we can hear you, try uploading within the show, Tom, if you want, and it might work. Tom, what does that mean? Does that mean the music's not working? Please don't tell me that the music's not working, because I had my jingle all loaded up. So let me know, Tom, because I want my jingle out there, dude. To be honest, this whole show is just a way of advertising my jingle. All right. So let me know if this is working. So let's have a look, and we'll go again. Don't worry, we can edit. Okay, let's right. Tom is saying let's just press it and see. Oh my God, Tom, that is remarkably remarkably haphazard. I love it. I absolutely love it. Shaz is there again, drama Shaz. Most students now type notes in laptops in university lectures. Scribbling has become as old as the Rosetta Stone. I don't know about that, Shaz, but I think you're right about how many students use computer input rather than handwriting at the moment. That's definitely a point. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to enter the recommendations part of the show. I've got a couple of ideas, and if you want to give your own recommendations over Pod on Podbean Live, on our little chat feature we've got going on here, or over Twitter, please do. I'm always looking for new tech that will be helpful for students and helpful for me. In regards to dictation, I use dictation a lot. I'm chronically lazy, you know. I'm sat here. I'm sat back. I've got my coffee here within reach. I've got my vape that I'm going to be vaping as soon as I'm off camera. I'm really sorry. Yeah, I am. Yeah, that's because I'm a rebel. Yeah, but I'm chronically lazy. Dictation. Away from students with disabilities, away from dictation for me is easier than typing. You know, it's a damn sight quicker as well. I was talking to Tom before the show started, and I was saying when I used to write for the educational newspapers. Yes, when I used to write for the educational newspapers. Sound like such a douche sometimes. When I used to write for the test and stuff like that, it used to take me about an hour and 10 minutes to do like a rough draft of a first draft of a piece. Because I type. I'm an awful typer. I'm just awful. I might as well be hitting the keyboard with a dead cat. I don't do that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. But I might as well be using my elbows and just like kind of like drop kicking the keys, because that's how slow it is when I am typing, and that's ridiculous considering that a lot of my work revolves around the computer. But it is what it is. But yeah, so I used to take about an hour and 10 minutes to dash off 700 words, hardly even thinking about it, just like properly. Well, it wasn't like that. It was more like on the keyboard, just awfully slow. Hour and 10 minutes to get 700 words. I started using dictation technology a number of years ago, just when it started to use artificial intelligence to fill the gaps. And it took me after a little bit of training, a little bit of not training on the app. The app was brilliant straight off. For some reason, dictation software loves my voice. Yeah, no, I know this flat southeast London twang I've got going on annoys the heck out of everybody, but dictation programs absolutely love it. But 110 minutes to write 700 words. Yeah, fair enough. I used dictation software for a while, and I was getting 700 words down to like 8 minutes. Because if you haven't recognized already, I do like to talk. I do it quite fast. And with the right technology, what that does is that streamlines a process that used to take me a bit of time and effort. And I don't like effort. I like my life to be really, really, really easy. So dictation technology for me gives me a way to get the thoughts from my head down onto a piece of paper eventually. In a quicker time with less effort. So yeah, we're talking about dictation technology today, and I am going to try the music. Here, Tom, drop me a message if it works. All right, here we go. Did it work? Please let it work. Come on now. Yes. Yeah, I've pressed the other one now. What's going on? You know what? Yes, I'll tell you what. Thank you very much. He is back. I am back in the game, Tom. I'm back in the game. I'm back in the game so much I'm going to put it on again. I'm so happy with myself. Seema's just put on the chat. Only reason I tuned in. Well, you know what? That's because it's so fantastic. Hang on, we're not going to the use just yet. I know. I'm gonna talk a little bit more. We're not going to go to the tip. So Tom's tech tips are for today. We're going to look at 3 different dictation tools that can be on its own, or it can be in within another program, because that kind of integration of dictation within word processing program is really, really useful, and has been really useful for me when I make recommendations to students. Okay, hang on, we got Paul Watson on the Twitter. Is it converted to oil style bare beams, dust, and all sort of stuff that should be in the tip plus Xmas decorations? Hang on, I think I'm getting RC commentary about my attic at the moment. Yeah, you're right. It is, Paul. It is. It's all that stuff. If you have a look at the video stream of where I am sat, I'm not going to move the camera about, but just off screen there is a whole bunch of just absolute junk and toot. I had to position the camera to make sure that it wasn't actually on screen, because I want people to come back to the show at some point and have another look. Anyway. So yeah, Tom's Tech Tips. So my first recommendation when it comes to dictation technology is one that I dictate quite a lot, because my institution has a site license, and it's Office 365. Office 365, or I believe it's now like Office on the web. I can't keep up with Microsoft sometimes. They're forever changing the names of stuff. They do. I think they do it just to mess with people, really. But anyway, the online version of Office 365, in particular Word, has a really, really decent dictation feature. And it's not one that is linked to the computer if it's like the downloaded app. The actual online app, so you need nothing but your browser. If you go to an online Word document, and then you the icon's actually there on the page. It's a little microphone, little blue microphone, and you press that, beep, and you can start speaking, and the Word document will write what you say. Now, being my lazy self, I love that. I also, in my daily life, I have to deal with many different documents that don't really take that much thought to complete. You know, forms, certain reports, session documents, that kind of thing, the kind of, you know, meat and potatoes of educational documentation, things that don't really take a massive amount of thought and or creativity, if I'm going to be honest about it. So instead of, you know, banging away on a typewriter with my massive meat hammer hands and not getting anywhere, I use dictation. I use Office 365. I use the Word document dictation. You know, I've got templates up there of all the other bits and bobs, and I just speak into my computer the same way I'm speaking into this microphone at the moment, or the same way that the other microphone on the computer that I should have turned off, I did, will be picking up my voice. So my first recommendation when it comes to dictation apps, when it comes to wait. Boom. Sorry. Yeah, is Word Dictate. It's really good. It uses an algorithm to pick up your language. Now, like I say, this is not 100% accurate, but what it does do, it means that you can get your thoughts down. Seamus just asked a question: would pronunciation be key for dictation features, though? I.e., would it understand my Manc accent? Now, yeah, this is. We'll talk a little bit about this after I've made the. You beat me to the punch here, Seema. You know what I mean? Don't stop trying to push things along. You know, yeah, accent is one of the things that make dictation software a little bit unsure of itself. Accent, sound source, and a couple of other bits and bobs. Yeah, Word Dictate, Shaz. Sorry, Shaz has just asked Word Dictate. Yeah, on Office 365 on the online, if you go to a document, it's a little blue microphone. You press it. If you've got a microphone, you should be able to speak into your computer. Yeah, accent is one of the things that some dictation features struggle with. We find that a lot where I work, because we have a lot of international students. We also have a lot of international lecturers. So accent means that there may be a lessening of accuracy, accuracy. No, sorry, I'm just really tired. That's the thing. So just ignore that last bit. But yeah, accuracy can mean that accent can lead to a lack of accuracy when it comes to transcription. It gets standard English or estuary English best. I think that's right, Shaz. You know, I really think it's right. Although there are some features where it'll learn. There are some. There's a lot of apps in regards to dictation that allow you to kind of guide the algorithm into what you're saying, which is also important because I work in HE. So we've got students using this stuff who use very, very complicated technical vocabulary regarding their subject. So it's not every day that the computer is going to pick up every single thing, but you can teach the computer to do these things. Also, and I say to the students, especially when I'm looking at Office 365, it's a different way of working when you're dictating in comparison to typing or in comparison to handwriting. One of the frustrations that the students feel when they're starting with dictation is that they see a mistake and then they stop, and because they stop, it means the dictation stops, and then it all goes a bit to pot. So one of the other pieces of advice I give to people, and I'll give it to you now. See, I mean, how much value are you getting from this show? Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. You can thank me later. But one of the things is, I say to students, just speak. Don't worry about editing as you go through, because you can't really edit as you're talking, because you have to stop talking and then you have to start talking again. But talk, just keep talking, go through it and edit afterwards once you've got something to edit. Because one of the frustrations is that, dictation software is not 100% accurate. So, you know, you start off and then you say, you know, I went to the park, and it types up, I went to the square, or I went to a small squirrel. That's not really true, doesn't it? It usually gets it in the right ballpark. But and that can be frustrating because, you know, you're trying to communicate, you're trying to be clear with your communication, and you don't want a machine to make mistakes on your behalf. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Seema, accents, sometimes they struggle with. Sound source, if the sound source isn't brilliant, sometimes they struggle with. This is why when I use dictation software like Office 365, the dictate feature on Word, I pretty much always use it with a headset. Because, you know, you got your microphone there, you can hear what you're saying, and it seems to be fairly clear. Shaz just put in the chat, coding. Yeah, it's one of the most difficult ones. We've got lots of students who use like latex and you know, lots of other different code. I'm not an academic, you see. So sometimes when it comes to the ICT departments, or sometimes when it comes to the computer departments at my place, I'm like, I've got no idea what you're doing. I've got no idea what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, we're going to get to some of the difficulties in regards to dictation and using dictation for students, staff, or whoever a bit later on in the show, because I think, you know, I'm not, like I say, I'm not one of this kind of like technology will solve everything. There are downsides to it. But Benjamin D. Barker says, good evening from Liverpool. Hello, Ben. I hope you are having a lovely day. Ben made a very good point on Twitter a little bit earlier about how he uses dictation in the kind of like the first run-throughs of the documents that he writes. And I think that's kind of like the most common usage in regards to dictation technology and writing. It's kind of like getting those ideas down quickly. You know, you don't have to be sat on the, hunched over a keyboard. A lot of my students use dictation technology on the move. I do it as well. I use it on a mobile phone rather than being tethered to a PC. But anyway, so first Tom's tech tip. I said that without messing it up this time. First Tom's tech tip is Word Dictate, or the dictation feature in Word Office 365 Online. It's really, really good. All right, let's have a look and see what is next. It's not that. Let's try again. Okay, so the next one is not really a particular app, but for people, when you say, have you ever dictated anything? people are like, oh no, I don't really like it. I don't really think it's useful or anything. And then I think to myself, well, you never use Alexa, you never use Google, you never use Google Home, Google Mini. We are using this kind of technology already. We're using voice recognition all the time. I've said it before, but if I was going to ever bet about what is going to take off in the next 10 years or so in regards to technology, I think voice dictation or dictation software, or being able to speak into a computer and have it write for you, that's going to be the thing. I think I'm probably going to look back on this and think, oh, you idiot, why did you say that? Oh, you stupid person. But I think we may see voice input take over keyboard input at some point in the future. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so mobile. We've got Alexa, we've got Google Minis, we've got all these kind of things. Your mobile phone, whether it's Android or whether it's the iPhone, both Android and iPhone have very, very good dictation features built in. Voice recognition features. You can dictate a document within your phone. So I'm not recommending kind of a particular piece of technology in that case. I'm saying the phone is a dictation machine. You can use it to dictate. I mean, have a go at it now. Usually, you bring up your keyboard, you've got a little microphone button on your keyboard. Press that, you speak into it, it writes for you. I've, as a test, I've written every single thing on Twitter today via voice recognition on my Android phone, and it's like a proper bog standard Android phone. This is not, this is not kind of like, super duper. This is basically, a brick that's been painted black and the screen's been put on it, and it works. It works. So the second tip is, if you want to get into dictation, get into dictation like it's a hobby. If you want to start using dictation, your phone is a really good place to start. Both iPhone and Android have really good voice recognition, and you can use your phone. You can dictate into documentation on the phone. Benjamin D. Barker, just on the chat, has agreed. It's the downside of the dictation within Google Docs. I'm assuming because it's web-based, the transcription itself isn't being done on the device, but being sent to a server somewhere. When doing it on Google Docs, quite a few errors appear. Much better on my phone, like you mentioned. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. There's so many different options out there now, Ben. You bang on, and it's about trying to find the right way of doing things. I find phone dictation can be a lot of the time much more accurate than sitting in front of a computer, dependent of course on your sound source, what microphone you're using, all those different things. But I do like but I also like the fact that the phone offers this. It already offers these things already. It's there. You can. Tom looks like he's maybe. You can already use this stuff. It's already available. A lot of the time it's free. So yeah, people disregard dictation because sometimes it makes a fair few mistakes. And I'm like, what? You never made a mistake writing? Come on now. Come on. So that's the second tip. The next tip, and the last one before we go to the news, I think, because if the sound's working, we can go to the news. Thank goodness. Is a free online app. Now, if you want to have a go at dictation, and I say this to everybody, don't just buy a load of stuff and just, because, you don't know if it's going to work for you. You don't know whether the process will be a good one. You don't know whether it's going to be productive for you. Everybody's different. Some people love dictation. Some people find it a frustrating process. But if you're going to try, it's a really good, one of the really good places to try is an online app called Dictation.io /speech. What happens is it's just like it comes up with a notebook page on the web, and you can just speak and it will write out what you say. So if you're kind of like oh, I don't really know whether this is going to be the thing for me, I don't really know if I should give this a go, just go to Dictation.io /speech. and have a go. Have a try. It's a nice and simple app. You simply speak into it. It types out what you say. You can have a look at the accuracy. You can have a look at the way. You can have a look at the speed of how fast you have to speak. Oh, that's the other thing. That's one of the greatest kind of improvements in dictation. People think because it's dictation that you have to speak like this for I'm going to stop that. You have to speak really slowly for the computer to actually understand anything. That's not the case. It's not the case. Most dictation apps handle natural speech really, really well. You don't have to sound like a robot that is getting its batteries removed whilst you're talking to the computer. You can talk very much like I'm talking now in a quite natural way. But if you want to try it out and you think to yourself, actually, this might be for me, don't spend a load of money on a load of kit from the beginning. Just go to dictation.io/speech and just have a little play. See what you think. You'll need a microphone or some way to make sure that you've got audio on your computer, obviously, because you're going to be speaking. But it's a nice little online app. Gives you a taste of dictation and gives you a taste of what it can do. So those are when it comes to it. So those are my tech tips for today. Dictation. So we're talking about dictation at the moment. We're talking about the upsides, the downsides. We're talking about which accent works best. After the news, I'm going to start looking at how would this work in schools, this type of technology? Would it work in schools? It certainly works in HE. I've seen it work. Could you use it in schools? Will it allow certain students to perhaps create something that they might not be able to in other ways? But anyway, I'm going to put the news on. I'm going to take a massive swig of my coffee just so I can carry on. And I will be back here in around about 10 minutes. because he just sounds like he's brilliant, isn't he? 2 minutes, and he's got through all that information. He has also made me incredibly paranoid about my security of the internet now, but that's all right. So that's great. Thank you very much for Steve. Thank you very much for Mary for the news. So we're talking about dictation technology at the moment. We've gone through some of Tom's tech tips. It's really weird saying Tom in the third person, by the way. Is at least what DJs like think about all the time. Tom, my tech tips. So Word Dictate on Office 365 would be my first choice. There's also fantastic dictation features that you can use on your mobile phones, and Dictation.io/speech if you want to give it a go online, just to kind of get a feel for the technology itself. Going back to some of the comments from excuse me, from the chat here in the Podbean live chat, we've got from Shaz again, could work brilliantly in FE. Yeah, I agree, Shaz. I really agree. My heart is with FE because I worked in FE for about 10 years. And because of the various different things, the various vocational courses, various courses that aren't vocational, having a way to input text that is fast, that means that you don't have to worry too much about things like spelling and grammar. We'll talk about grammar a little bit. I think it'd be a really good option. Yeah, and I think it'd be really good in FE. So that's a very good point. Thank you for putting it out there. Before I go on, and before we talk about kind of will this work in schools? Will this work in other educational institutions? Let's have a think about some of the downsides. I love dictation technology. I'm not going to lie. It's one of my big. I try to promote it as much as I can because although it's fairly prevalent in lots of different areas, people don't really tend to kind of use it as much. Even people I think would benefit who would benefit massively from using dictation technology. You could write an essay whilst you're lying in bed. Some people do that anyway. But you could sort out your paperwork whilst you're frying some eggs. I'm just trying to. What I'm trying to do is basically I'm trying to say it's a viable way of getting text into a computer, and more people should use it. I really believe it. I think more people should use it because I think it works. It streamlines processes. It's great for certain disabilities. It's great if you just can't be bothered staring at a screen anymore. You get yourself a wireless headset and you can be out and about. If you use your mobile phone to dictate, you can be mobile. You don't have to be tethered to a screen in a small attic on a Sunday night like I am at the moment. You can just get on with doing something whilst you're writing. I think that's really good. But as I say, I'm not kind of like a technology will solve all these different things. If you're on the video stream, I just flap my arms around for no reason there. Also, I look like I'm in cadet school. I've got a camo t-shirt. I've got camo headphones, gaming headphones. I look like I'm flying a drone at the moment. So sorry about that, guys. I'm gonna dress myself a little bit more appropriately next time. I might even put on like a jacket with elbow pads. Yeah, that's how we roll. Corduroy. Yeah. But dictation, let's have a think about some of the downsides. Here's something that that I haven't considered because in a practical application, if you need to use dictation, you're not always in an environment where you can use dictation, not always an environment where you can speak freely. I use dictation a lot. Luckily, I work from home a couple of days a week, and I use dictation all the time. I use it to write all sorts of different documentation. I use it to send messages. I use it to tweet quite a lot. But there's no one around me. I'm in my little office, the top floor, somewhere in the north, and I don't have to worry about things like disturbing other people. I don't have to worry about things like talking about information that I don't necessarily want to share with people. So that's one of the downsides. It's also, there's a self-conscious element if you're dictating something around other people. You're talking. I don't know why, because people tend to talk into their phones all the time at the moment, especially on my bus in the morning at great length, really loudly. So, but people do feel self-conscious talking, and they do feel self-conscious. Um, and it's difficult if you want a quiet environment. So schools, if the input would be speaking to get something written down, it would be incredibly loud and incredibly difficult. There are ways around it. Stenographers use kind of face masks, kind of like Bane looking things that isolate the sound that they're talking about. And it means that nobody else around you can hear. But that means that you've got to kind of put on this kind of, Batman style kind of, oh, it's true, I'm dictating, leave me alone. That's my best Bane voice, by the way. That's as good as it gets, so all apologies. But yeah, I mean, there are machines and tools that allow you to speak but not make any sound, but those are few and far between and very, very expensive for what they are. Some of them also look like you are running around in a World War One trench and the gas has just gone off as well. I mean, but I do think that I think possibly in the near future, there's going to be ways where people will still be able to dictate, but sound will be able to be cut off from everybody else. I don't know how, but I mean, there's things that exist now, and if dictation becomes more mainstream, as it were, I think there'll be the need to try to find ways to isolate your voice from your surrounding areas. But it is a downside at the moment. I did mention, of course, that sometimes you can be very self-conscious speaking into a computer. If you're in an office, if you're in a classroom, so that's something to do with it as well. So downsides, it's sometimes difficult to dictate in a quiet environment if other people are around. Another downside is, as I've mentioned before, no dictation program currently is 100% accurate. It's a big downside, and it's one of the things that leads to great frustration if people want to actually use dictation software. It's not 100% accurate. So the use of AI means that accuracy has increased greatly, but it's still not 100%. No, and I haven't seen. Benjamin just put in the comment, I've used dictation so much I've caught myself saying comma or full stop when leaving a normal voicemail for someone. Yeah, you're on the phone to your mum. Hi mum, comma. She said, what? Seema's just put in, finding a dictation software for meetings would be the dream. Well, this is the thing. Seema, there's some real great software. I said to Tom at the beginning of the show, I won't mention it again because I've already mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again anyway. Otter AI is a third party dictation device, and what it does, it has lots of really good features, and one of those features is that within the app, if there's a conversation, it will identify who's speaking. So so you could have a meeting, you could have a recording of the meeting, and Otter AI says, that doesn't give any names or anything because we don't know, but it says speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 1, speaker 2, and it's fairly accurate. I mean, Microsoft Teams has Microsoft Teams has I know, it is pretty cool. Yeah, Seema's just right. Oh wow, that is cool. Yeah, it is. I mean, Microsoft Teams, I don't know how many people out there use that as the primary way of having online meetings. I do, because, as I say, my institution is heavily into the Microsoft environment. But Teams, you can come up with a transcription. It's got instant captioning. Yeah, this Seema, seriously, Seema's also just written that I use Team for meetings all the time. I had no idea you could do that. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, Teams has auto captioning. The thing about Microsoft products is that they're philosophically, they're trying to make sure that everything's integrated, but means that you don't know where anything is. So yeah, in Microsoft Teams, if you go to your meeting, you go to the three little dots, you can go record the meeting. If you record the meeting, there will be a transcription as well. So, you know, I mean, it might be, tell you what, taking minutes in meetings is a right pain, you know, and you just think, oh, you know, when that question is asked when you're in a meeting, it's like, well, okay, so guys, when there's not somebody designated to do it, obviously, but you know, who's going to take the minutes? And people just like step back, you know, just like, oh, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not. Oh God, does that mean I have to listen? You know, but yeah, I mean, Otter AI, really good at recording, really good at identifying different people in a recording. Teams has a captioning function, and lots of other. There's a lot. Also, guys, don't think that these are just the only options out there. I hate to think that I'm trying to press particular programs on people. You know, dictation software, it's a kind of a genre of software, and there are lots and lots and lots of different alternatives, lots of different versions. So I mentioned particular programs, but there's a whole world of dictation software out there. Everything from kind of like the OGs of dictation, such as Dragon Naturally Speaking, to, you know, to new apps. I've got an app, a specific, and this is how sad I am. I like dictation so much that I bought for 99 pence a specific app that is basically just a shopping list app, you know, like a bog standard shopping list app, but it has a really, really nice, easy to use voice recognition function, so I can just say my shopping, because that's how lazy I am. You know, there is no need for me to have that function on a shopping list app. It's just I want it because it's easy. So, you know, I say, you know, when I'm going out and about and I'm trying to remember what it is that I'm supposed to buy, because I could never, before I do it, I just go. And one of the things is, on this particular app, you have to say "and" for it to be a new different thing. So, you know, before I set off, I'm in my kitchen and I'm saying tomatoes and burgers and food and lots of vodka, and yeah, and so you think, anybody looking at me thinking, what is going on? And that's going back to the self-conscious thing again, but it's just so much easier than having to type out, having to thumb out on a mobile phone what you're going to buy. You just say it, it's done, it's there, and it's written. But I'm going back to the whole kind of evangelizing about dictation. Let's talk about some of the other downsides. It was mentioned a little bit earlier in the show. Not 100% accurate. Accuracy can decrease for lots of different reasons when it comes to dictation technology. Sound source is one of the reasons. If you're recording, if your recording equipment isn't brilliant, or if the sound source is not particularly clear, that can mean that you might not have a massively accurate dictation. If the person speaking has an accent that the dictation program, app, whatever, doesn't like or struggles with, that can lead to a massive decrease in accuracy. And sometimes in that case, it's about trying to find the right program for you. Some dictation programs do a lot better with strong accents than others. I've never really had a problem because I'm just so average in lots of different ways, but I have a very average, flat Southeast London esque accent. I'm not as Lewisham anymore as I used to be. Very flat. And for me, when it comes to accuracy, if I use something like Word Dictate, it's about 95% accurate, and that'll do me, but that will go up or will go down dependent on who is speaking. One of the other reasons that I'm doing that thing again with my arm. Apologies to those on the video. It's like, it's all right. I'm not having some form of episode. Don't worry. But one of the things that my students use dictation software for is to get a transcript of sessions and lectures. If many of my students who I work with are disabled, so they have permission to record in lectures, seminars, and so on and so forth. So they use dictation software to record the lecture and have an instant transcription of that lecture. Shaz is like, we talk different here, Doc. Yeah, we do. Yeah, I'm terrible at accents. I'm not very good at all. So this will probably be the last show for quite a lot of people, because they're just going to turn off because I think it's massively offensive. Yeah, we do. We talk different around here, Doc. It's true. It's true. And accent is a bit of a deal breaker sometimes when it comes to dictation technology. I'm not going to lie. But that's why you should use things like dictation.io/speech just to see what it can do and see what the limitations are, because there are limitations. Let's just, before I go on, I'm just going to go and have a look and see what the commentary is like on Ruth Smith, Ruthie, IE, on Twitter says, yeah, my kid has dyslexia and used dictation software in Google Docs in lockdown just to get her stories onto the page. Year 3, March 2020 was down in the dumps for being kept in at break to finish work. Returned to school with confidence that she can write. Happier girl. That is crap, apparently, according to Shaz. And talk about my accent. We're not talking about Ruth's tweet. You did Yorkshire. I'm Nottingham duck. I don't even know what a Nottingham accent sounds like, to be honest. Every time I think of Nottingham, I think of Robin Hood. But I don't think everybody in Nottingham sounds like Kevin Costner, do they? So apologies for the accent. But this is a really good point by Ruth Smith. Scouse accent. Go. No way am I going to try a Scouse accent, because that would just hello, I'm Tom. We'll talk about technology. Hey, all right, that wasn't too bad, that, actually. I think even 7 out of 10. Thank you, Ben. Right, don't do this, because this is what my students do. They get me on a tangent, and Scouse is gorgeous, actually, Shaz. Yeah, it's a beautiful accent, but not when I'm pretending. So back to Ruthie, IE at the end. Yeah, it's something that I've seen as well, Ruth, is that students with dyslexia can use dictation software, and it removes some of the issues that they face. So, for instance, if a student is not massively confident in regards to spelling, especially in HE, when there's a lot of technical vocabulary, it takes away some of those issues. It takes away some issues in regards to hand-eye coordination, and I've said this to students itself. It's not simply an academic tool. What it can do, it can lead to a lessening of anxiety in regards to the written word. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Ruth. That's a really, really good comment, and thank you for sharing that lovely story. So we're talking about downsides. Accents can be sound can be a problem sometimes, and the fear of causing a noisy disruption in a particular area is a downside. But am I going to be controversial? Yeah, I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to say that the benefits outweigh the disadvantages when it comes to dictation technology. It's available now, ladies and gentlemen. It works to a certain extent. It's free in many cases. And what it can do, it can allow students, whether it be HE, FE, secondary, primary, it can allow students a different way of creating text, a different way, something that means that they might be able to overcome particular barriers that they may have. Something that is, Shaz has just put a comment up about spelling, but I'm not gonna share it because it's funny, but I want to keep my slot. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is one of the things. Dictation as an assistive technology for students with certain issues, difficulties. It's a fantastic thing. It's readily available. It's free in lots of cases. Why not use it? You know, why not? Why not give it a go? And I think, and it's nice to have a show like this where you talk about it, because what you can do is you can just make people a little bit more aware of this particular way of working. So that's talked about some recommendations, talked about some of the downsides. I think it's viable. I think it's a great way of doing things. I think it allows lots of people who may struggle in certain areas when it comes to English, when it comes to the written word. I think it helps quite a fair bit. So what we'll do is I'll put the news on again, because it's quite a long show, this one. It's long for me. I bet it's absolutely blooming epically long for you out there. I'll put the news on again, and afterwards we'll have a chat about maybe how this might look like in a practical application. Is it ever going to work in schools? Is it, are you going to be able to accommodate somebody? And this is already happening in exams, guys. Exam accommodations. The use of speech to text technology is a reasonable adjustment in many cases. So yeah, it's already out there. It's already happening, but will it be more widespread? Is there too many things in schools, say, that will put a kind of kibosh on this type of technology? Is it about attitude? The written word and the creation of the written word is something that's fairly sacred to a lot of educators out there. And sometimes when a new way of doing things comes along, there can be a certain amount of, rightly so, a certain amount of hesitancy and a certain amount of kind of pushback. But anyway, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about real world applications. We'll talk about students, how they use it. I had a lovely example there from Ruth, how it might help dyslexic students in particular, but it helps quite a lot of other students. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. But I'll put the news on again because that coffee is just looking at me and saying, drink me. And we'll be back in 8 and a bit minutes. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, dictation is the subject for this evening's discussion. We're talking about talking. We're talking about voice input as a viable alternative to using a keyboard. I said that we should maybe think about exactly how this might look in, because I know how it looks in HE. You know, I see it on the reg, as the kids like to say, when it comes to how my students, or many of my students, work. But how might it work in a school? Would it ever work in a school? Yeah, I think that what we have to think about is we have to think about, well, okay, writing and moving away from writing, as it were, as a physical act using either a keyboard or a pen. If you can find a way to get text out there, then, you know, and if it works for you and is easier for you or is essential for you in many of the cases, then surely that's of benefit when it comes to things like English, creative writing, or just about any type of written text. One of the issues that I have in regards to students who use certain programs, speech-to-text programs, is that their subject matter can be very, very technical. So, for instance, mathematics can be problematic because, you know, trying to ensure that formula is written accurately can be difficult if you're using speech to text. But there are actual programs that specialize in that type of writing as well. Just going back to some of the comments that have been made as well. Listen, thank you very much, you lot, for actually joining in. I don't often have guests on the show because I can't really talk too loudly at the moment. If you can see me on the if you can see me on the live stream, I'm kind of like huddled in the corner, just practically eating my microphone just so I can keep my voice down a little bit. But thank you very much for all the input. Thank you very much for all the input on Podbean live chat. Thank you very much for all the input on Twitter. So we'll have a look at some of the other commentary on Twitter. We had Ruth talking about her daughter whilst she was off using speech to text. I sometimes get that all the time. I get that wrong all the time when I'm working speech to text, text to speech. Dictation. We'll call it dictation because that's what it is. Ruth was talking about her daughter using dictation during the pandemic and being able to become more confident in the fact that she can create writing after having that confidence knocked in regards to her dyslexia, in regards to the physical act of writing. Ian Goldsworthy on Twitter has just said, it's been a revelation for my dyspraxic 14-year-old. Never mastered writing despite reading to a good level. Started using Dragon with him in lockdown, and it's transformed his writing in terms of length and quality. Long way from perfect still, but so much better than pen and paper. I think, yeah, there are certain situations that I see very regularly due to my role where it's a better option than the more traditional pen paper typing, and it can mean that students who suffer with difficulties when it comes to those more traditional ways of inputting can flourish. And yeah, I mean, Ian's also pointed out there is a long way to go. There is a long way to go when it comes to accuracy. There's a long way to go when it comes to grammar and punctuation. I know that on the chat in the Podbean Live, Shaz is giving it some about the importance of grammar and punctuation, and perhaps it's not as important as people make it out to be. But in the case of grammar and punctuation, there are programs that make an attempt to add grammar and punctuation automatically. There's programs that do it automatically. There's programs where you can just literally dictate the punctuation and it'll write for you. Like Ben said a bit earlier on in the show that he often finds himself in a conversation, an actual real phone conversation, he often finds himself dictating punctuation in that phone conversation. I like that. I like the idea. So yeah, I mean, there are programs that will do this automatically. To be honest, I've not come across a dictation app or program or system that gets it right very much. I would probably never rely on an app to add punctuation because it's not there yet, but it feels like it's close. It feels like it's close. So at the moment, when I dictate, I dictate first drafts of things. I dictate tweets. I dictate kind of bog standard, kind of everyday working documents. Excuse me. I sometimes use programs such as Word Dictate, and happily for me, in my particular position, it recognizes me when I'm dictating the punctuation as well. So I do say full stop, new line, comma, and so on and so forth. But I foresee a day, and I foresee it being quite soon, where the accuracy both of the speech recognition and the insertion of grammar is going to be to a point where you'll be able to speak a academic document. You'll be able to the computer will be able to recognize when is a comma, when is it a full stop, when a new line should be inserted, when a colon, semicolon should be in there. At the moment, you have to do your own little checking most of the time, if you're going for the automatic route, but you can also just put in punctuation, dictating it as you would dictate anything else in a particular document. I mean, some people find this, some people find this stuff surprising. I've had a couple of comments on the chat here, the Podbean live chat. I didn't know that you could do this. That's always a problem, and I keep coming back to this on my show because I keep coming back to it at work. Awareness is always an issue. Not knowing that these things exist is always an issue. Lists of off the top of my head, and bear with me. It's past 9 o'clock. I'm usually tucked up in bed at this time with a bovril and my sleeping hat and looking like Scrooge. But off the top of my head, things that programs that have auto captioning, transcription, dictation features. Zoom has a auto captioning facility that is pretty much dictation of text. Already mentioned it before, but Teams has that facility. Otter AI has well, that's a third party, so that doesn't really count. But Zoom, Teams, Office 365, all those products, Google Docs. I've not focused on Google. Google. I'm going back to the Google Scouse there. I've not focused much on the Google side of things. Google's voice recognition in Google Docs is really good as well. I think it's called Voice Control on that app. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's called voice typing. No, it's called voice typing on Google Docs. It's there. It's ready. It's available. You can use it. Google has infiltrated education with the Chromebook thing for quite a while, but I'm still talking to teachers, I'm still talking to students that don't realize that it has a dictation feature built in. Every single mobile phone that you'll come across has a dictation feature. iPhone's dictation voiceover is great, really, really good. Android has its own as well. Google Docs, the entire Office 365 suite, Zoom, and a whole bunch of other products have this technology built in already. It's available. You can use it. You can use it now. After this show, if you don't automatically completely fall asleep, which is exactly what I'm going to do as soon as this finishes, go on to dictation.io/speech. It's there. It's available. You can record, and you can record sound sources. It doesn't necessarily have to be just you talking. If you want a transcription of somebody else's conversation, you can do that. A lot of my recommendations when it comes to speech to text is about making sure that you capture information. For instance, in lectures and seminars, and making sure that you have an instant transcription of those things, whether it be live if you're actually sat in a lecture theatre or from a recorded lecture. This is why I'm always like, no, I'm not a technology evangelist. Not a technology evangelist. I'm not going to, I'm not going to say that, this is going to change things. But when it comes to dictation, this is a form of technology that is or has changed things already. And I think it's going to continue to change things. I think it's going to continue to be become more and more popular as it becomes more and more accurate. I honestly think it's probably voice input is probably going to be the primary way that people are going to put text into a computer. And I think Amanpanyan, hello from Ghana. That's great. A teacher in rural Ghana. Thank you very much for joining the show and joining the chat. Really appreciate it, and appreciate all the feedback that I'm getting and all the suggestions that are being made by other people out there, and all the really nice stories about how dictation features in modern programs are helping many students, many children try and get to grips with the written word. Maybe we shouldn't call it the written word. Get to grips with words. It's just another way of doing things, and it's a fairly good way in lots of different situations for lots of different people, and it's available currently. If you're looking to recommend dictation, if you're looking to use dictation yourself, you do have to remember it's a different way of doing things. So there are certain things that you need to think about. Don't edit on the fly. Just keep talking and then edit afterwards if you want to make sure that everything is as accurate as possible. You think to yourself, oh, well, that's just another step, isn't it? But speaking personally, I can do a rough version and edit that rough version at the end of it heck of a lot quicker than I can just oh, thank you very much. I'm Amanpanyan. First time of joining, just chanced on your show. Hey, lovely. It's lovely to have you here. Really, really appreciate it. So when it comes to dictation, then I can dictate and edit a document faster than I can type out the same document, a lot faster. So maybe when it comes to the skills that people will need in the future in regards to writing, maybe instead of being able to compose and ensuring that composing accurate composition of writing is the skill that you need, it might be a case that it's about editing and being able to edit speech, being able to think about how spoken word's going to look like on the page, and being able to perhaps kind of shift your thinking to a more thinking about syntax and thinking about how to dictate documentation that will also work on the page as well as conversational speech. It's all about that you're English teacher, right? Formality, talking about formality, all the things that you will be teaching when it comes to the written word. It will be about dictation of it'll be about trying to edit the spoken word. And I think, it's not much of a leap, if I'm going to be honest, not much of a leap at all. I'm just going to quickly check the time, because I do have an issue of overrunning. We got a couple of minutes, so let's do a summary. Let's summarize what have we learned today, lads and lasses. All right, so if we talk about dictation technology, which means in many cases it's a way to write text by speaking into a machine, either a computer or a mobile phone primarily. Dictation technology has evolved immensely over the past 10 years, from being fairly arduous to train back in the day when I was there, where you had to wind up the computer to get it going, and then you had to sit in front of it and talk, just carry on talking, and it was quite an arduous task, Whereas now the way of working and the technology means that it's a lot more immediate. It's a lot more accessible, as it were. We looked at a couple of examples. So Word Dictate, the dictate feature in Office 365, or Word for the web, or whatever it's calling itself these days, is really, really good, fairly accurate. Oh, it's also got a transcription feature as well. I think I mentioned that before, where you can upload sound files, you can upload video files, and it will transcribe and write down what's being said. All very useful, very useful. A lot of students who I work with have a lot of transcription to do for interviews, field work, that type of thing. But yeah, Word Dictate, we looked at Word Dictate. We talked about using mobile phones, either iPhone or Apple. The native dictation features in mobile phones are really good. And then I just give you a heads up about dictation.io/speech, where you can have a go at yourself online and just see if it's a way of working that's going to work for you, or perhaps work for a student if you're going to try and recommend it. We thought about what the downsides are when it comes to accuracy, when it comes to feeling self-conscious about speaking. But I came off the fence and I said I think the benefits far outweigh the difficulties if you can make sure that the program that you're using recognizes your voice well to a certain extent. If it doesn't, there's no point in using it, is there? You know what I mean? You know, if it's not recognizing fairly accurately what you're saying, then it's just, yeah, there's not much point. But in my experience, my limited experience, I'm only one person, accuracy is really, really good in many, many, many different cases. And if you're unsure, take them to the site and just let your student have a go and see if it makes a difference. Yeah, like I say, I think it's probably one of the most transformative technologies that I recommend. It's definitely one of those kind of light bulb moments for a lot of my students who have always struggled with the written word. I live demonstrate some of the stuff, and I speak fairly naturally, and then, you know, it comes up on the screen and students like that, you know, their eyes light up. You know, it's like that's going to really help. And it is really helpful for students with disabilities. It's helpful for students who struggle when it comes to confidence with the written word. It's helpful for educators, teachers, because it means that you can streamline the time it takes for you to write the untold amount of documents that you have to write on a daily basis. But yeah, so for my money, dictation is a really, really, really fantastic tool in regards to the creation of text in many, many different situations. But anyway, that's time, lads and lasses, gentlemen, ladies, and all you out there. You know, the bell's gone. It's 9:30. I am hoping that you get a lie-in tomorrow morning, because we don't, you know, you don't have to be at school, you don't have to be at college, I don't have to be at university, which is one of the reasons why I'm actually here. So if you haven't done it already, have a go at using dictation, see if it's for you, and if you think it might be useful to your students, recommend it, because it's available, it's widespread. It's just about finding it and trying to work with it. All right, so thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for everybody who was involved in suggestions and the stories of dictation. Thank you very much for everybody on the chat in Podbean and online on Twitter. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the bank holiday weekend, and I will hopefully speak to you all soon.